to another edition of Three Peas in a Podcast. My name is Paul, and as usual, I have my two fellow Peas with me. What's up, Tarek?
What's up, guys?
What's up, Ashley? You right?
What's happening?
Right. So this week was fairly mundane in terms of the games. It was pretty run of the mill until last night, and today we get an announcement in relation to an ex player who has decided to change career paths and move into the sport of boxing. I thought it would be right, unless we touched on this and had a quick discussion about your thoughts on the subject of Rio Ferdinand, who has made it official that he is moving into boxing at 38 years of age, with no pro license in boxing, shall I just but he's made the decision that he's going to become a pro. Now, all of us have dabbled in boxing somewhat, not professionally, but we know about the sport. We've trained and football as well, so we know about both sports. And it seems a bit, I mean, from my perspective, it's a bit strange that he's decided to do this now. I mean, each to their own, but 38 years of age and now going into boxing, what do you guys think this is about? A publicity stunt or a genuine goal in his life that he's wanted to do for a long time, or just, or just, he just feels like a change? What do you guys think?
I don't know, man. I don't know what to think of it. Like, I think part of me believes he genuinely, obviously wants to do it. It can't be a money thing. Like, he was on BT Sport getting paid shitloads of money, so he must really want to do this. But I mean, I think part of it's got to do with his personal life slightly. But fair enough, he wants a distraction, but I don't know if this is the way to get that. I mean, you're going into the wilderness in the world of boxing, and you've never really been, it's not been a part of your life like that. So to now, like, I applaud him being brave about it, but I think sadly it might just end horribly wrong. And I think if it's his way to sort of vent what's going on in his life, maybe it's not the way. But yeah, surprising one for me. I'm not really sure what to make of it yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like, it doesn't seem like it's not like what Freddie Flintoff did, and he just wanted to have one boxing fight. It seems like he's talking about winning world titles or winning titles. I don't know how but I just don't know where he's going with this. Like, it's like, he's going to be fighting at cruiserweight, which is, the big boys are cruiserweight, and they punch hard. And I don't really understand what he's thinking. It seems like he wants to do more than one fight.
Yeah.
It's a bit bizarre. I mean, there aren't really any big names at cruiserweight, but I mean, apart from Bellew, but I mean, I don't think Bellew's going to be entertaining him at all, really. But it's like, what is this about? Is he having is it like sensitive to do with his personal life, or is he having a bit of a crisis? Like, what do you think, actually?
That's what I'm saying.
It's got to be a midlife crisis. It has to be. It has to be. No man in his right mind goes into boxing this late in your career and thinks, yeah, I've got a genuine chance of winning a world title. You've got these kids training from when they're like 7 years old and stuff like that, man. It's absolutely crazy. The sport in itself, like you've said at the beginning there, we've all dabbled in the training. I've done an 8-week camp, and it's no easy feat doing those camps. It's draining on your body. It's not just physically draining; it's mentally draining.
Yeah.
And then when you're getting punched for 3 rounds, it's not fun. It's no fun whatsoever when someone's just physically fit, mentally fit. They've been doing it for a long time, and they're just punching you in the face, punching the body. I just can't see who. There must be someone in the background saying to him, "Oh yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea." Let them try and get punched in the face for 36 minutes or however long it lasts, and then see how they feel.
I mean, if it was just a one-off match, it would have been silly enough. But like you said, Paul, if he's actually trying to think to carve a career out of boxing at this stage, I don't know what he's thinking really. Like, it's not like he needs the money, which would have made sense. I can't see what angle him starting a career in boxing now makes any sense from. Like, maybe you're right, actually. Maybe he's got people in his ear trying to just get money in the back end of it. But I mean, the sight of Rio Ferdinand getting knocked out in the ring is just not gonna be. It's not gonna be nice to see.
That's
Yeah,
not.
I mean, if he wants something to do, he can take up golf or something like that. Why would you decide to go a professional boxer? It's not like he's Conor McGregor and he's done something similar his whole life and then he's going into boxing. You know, it's completely different sport. You know, there's no correlation between boxing and football. It's a bizarre one, but I mean, good luck to him. I hope it works out for him. Like you said, it's going to be a sad sight if we have to see Rio Ferdinand getting knocked out in the ring. But yeah, I mean, depending on how far he wants to go with this, it could very well be a sight that we see pretty soon.
That's the thing. Either way, we'll be tuning in. So yeah, it's going to be eventful.
Well, yeah, good luck to him. Good luck to him. But onto the more serious things about football. Let's start with the games of the weekend. Pretty good weekend for the top sides. And it's looking like already it's going to be a two-horse race. Both of the Manchester teams have pulled out in front. It's only 3 points, the gap. But the way they are both playing, it's looking like the title is going to go back to Manchester. What are your guys' thoughts on the way United and City have started the season and the way they've played over the weekend?
Well, I think they're definitely on their job. Like, I mean, it reminds me a bit of this time last season. Like, everyone was saying City are going to run away with it. Even we started with 3 wins to begin with. I think from United's perspective, we're finishing games well. We're winning games that we wouldn't be winning or would be drawing last season. I mean, I hate to make these predictions 5 games in, but I guess both teams have beaten what's in front of them. They both drew a game, but ultimately they're scoring loads of goals. And yeah, as it stands, they look like the teams that everyone's going to be catching. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to get too carried away at the moment, but yeah, at the moment, both of them are definitely doing what they're meant to be doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. What do you think, Ash?
I think I pretty much said at the start of this journey that we're on that I thought United would probably go and win the league. I'm still not convinced by City. I think they play fantastic football. I think they've had the rub of the green in their last couple of games. To be honest, I thought 2 of their goals on Saturday were offside. So they're getting the rub of the green at the minute. But like I said, until they come up against the United, and people will say that they come up against Liverpool, but that red card totally changed that game. So I'm not taking that as a challenge. And I thought Liverpool played into their hands anyway. Until they come up against like a United or Chelsea, which they will in a couple of weeks' time, and they dismantle those sides. I still can't. I still see it as it's in United's hands. It's just that United haven't been. I don't think they've been greatly pretty, but like T said, they're finishing off their opponents. They're doing their job, and they've got Lukaku scoring goals, which is a sight for the United fans. Even without Pogba in the side at the weekend as well, they still went and beat Everton 4-0, who I think are in disarray at the minute. So I think it's definitely going back to from what I'm seeing at the minute. I think United are the more likely for how compact they're being. They're not conceding many goals, and they're scoring goals for fun. I can't see past that. And I know people will say City have only conceded 2 goals or something like that in the league, but when someone's actually got at them, as Everton did and Bournemouth did, they looked vulnerable.
Yeah, even Watford had a few chances. Even though they lost 6-0, they still had chances where they were causing the defence problems at times. So I mean, yeah, I agree with Ash. At that centre back role, to me, they've still got some issues that against a bigger team and a better team, they will concede goals. That's why I don't think they'll really win the league. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Pep plays it against. Well, we got Chelsea in 2 weeks. If he's going to be that open against them sort of teams, probably I think he will. But yeah, if he plays that open against better opposition on the counter and against better attackers, that's where they could fall short for me.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that Pep will play the way that he always plays. He doesn't seem to change depending on the opponent. His belief is that his team is the strongest team, and he's going to keep playing the way that he wants to play. So I don't imagine that it will change too much when they play against Chelsea. But like you guys both said, they've done what they're supposed to have done so far. I still believe that City have been more impressive than United. United have it's been a bit more. I mean, for Mourinho, it's quite a free-flowing team because he doesn't usually have teams that score so many goals. Apart from the Real Madrid team, when I think they scored over 100 goals in that season when they won the league. But generally, his team are defensive first. They're compact. They're happy with a 1-0 or 2-0 and just shut up shop. But he seems to be that he's buying into the United philosophy of attack and going for goals, which is good. If you can get the right balance of that with the defensive side of it, then it's going to be very difficult to play against. But for me, I think City have just been frightening. I know they haven't really had a major test. I mean, both of them haven't really had a major test. But the way they've performed, the way they've dispatched teams has been amazing. And I can't see it going anywhere but to Manchester. I think if you finish above either of those sides, you win the league. Right now, it's looking like it's only going to be out of United, City or Chelsea. I can't see anybody else really challenging. In terms of consistency, those teams will be the strongest over the season. But I think the way that if City can continue the way they're going, which is a big if, and if United can as well, I think United are more likely to be consistent. The goals are going to drop off, but I think City they're doing everything right now, unless they have a major injury with one of the attacking four, De Bruyne, Silva, Aguero, or Jesus. I can't see them not winning. I mean, they just have so much firepower. It's scary.
That's the thing.
Against Watford was insane. I mean, I know you can say it was a lesser opposition, but how often do you go away from home and win 6-0? It's like it doesn't happen often in the Premier League.
It's true.
They have so much going forward. I don't think it's too soon to be saying that these teams are going to be. These are the teams to beat, because I just feel they're way ahead of everybody else. And Chelsea are the only team that really can compete with them. I think, and we're going to touch on in a minute, but the other two sides that potentially there are Arsenal, Liverpool, and Tottenham. But I think the other three are way ahead of the rest really at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. Pretty much, it is looking a two-horse race. Yeah, like both teams have too much power going forward. Yeah, I'll be very surprised if anyone leapfrogs those two.
I thought
United would struggle without Pogba because he's a big player for United, but it didn't even seem like there was just no issue about the fact that he didn't play against Everton. It was just like he was playing.
Yeah, exactly.
He still played the same way. It didn't affect him at all, which I was surprised about. But I think if that was City, I think that would have a bigger impact on City if they lost the Silva or they lost Aguero. I think there'd be more of an effect on them, which again is another sign going forward. What were you going to say, yes?
I just think with the likes of Pogba, I think if you lose a player like that, it drops the onus on a lot more of the players. So a lot more players have to take responsibility. Whereas if you've got like a big player, I think like with Chelsea, like last season, we relied on Hazard and Costa, and when they weren't in the team, you could sort of see the little cracks that appear. So, like you say there, it's quite an ominous sign that they can lose a big player of that caliber and still go and score 4 goals against an Everton side that I think we all spoke about and said they should be having a good season this year. Like I said, I think they're a bit of a hot mess at the minute. Doesn't seem like Koeman knows what his best team is and how to get them to play at the minute. But for United, I think consistency will be key in this league. I think last season we saw Chelsea were the most consistent side. If United can keep it clean at the back, we all know Mourinho isn't really bothered about how he wins as long as he wins. Whereas I think Pep will be quite aggrieved if he was winning 1-0. His philosophy is attack, attack, attack. And I really do think that will be their downfall. I do, because I don't think he bought about 7 million fullbacks, but didn't buy a centre half, which I can't quite understand why he didn't buy a centre half. I know he thinks John Stones is good enough. I think that's debatable. I think he's a good footballer. I think he's still very suspect defensively. Otamendi's exactly the same. I think they've got good ball players, but not great defenders.
Yeah.
It's the same with Liverpool. Liverpool have got people that can play football, but they can't defend. It's absolutely pathetic that they both didn't replace the players that they've got in that squad for maybe upgrades. And you'll see come December, January time when the schedule gets a bit heavy, that teams start to struggle around that time, where they're playing maybe 4 or 5 games in a couple of weeks. You tend to find that teams start to struggle. Liverpool done it last season, didn't they?
Yeah.
They were flying in the league, and then it come to around the Christmas time, and then you started seeing the chinks in the armour. Mane left and for the African Cup of Nations, and it was never the same. And they've been knocked out the Kabara Cup today as well. So Klopp's got a job on his hands at the minute because he's not winning games, and the fans are starting to get on his back as well. From what I've been hearing, not on like Talk Sport and stuff like that, saying he's not good enough and he's not really changed anything. But I think the title should be going back to Manchester, definitely.
Yeah, I think another thing that we haven't touched on is the European football. So that's going to have a big impact on who picks up the league, because depending on how deep in the tournament either of those teams go, as we know, the Premier League is very different to the La Liga or the French league or the Italian league. It's a lot more competitive. So, if you want to win both, it's pretty difficult to rotate and make changes in the league. Whereas teams like Real Madrid can sacrifice their best players in the league and still pretty much guarantee they're going to pick up 3 points. So it's going to be difficult to see how both Manchester sides juggle that later on in the tournament.
Definitely will be, yeah. I think, like you said, that's going to be where it's won or lost for me. I can see both teams doing pretty well in the Champions League. But it just depends who can rotate and who's got enough in the squad when they need to count on the squad players to come through, really. But at the moment, both of them are just flying, and until they get really tested against a bigger team, I can't see it stopping.
Yeah. And let's move on to Liverpool, because we kind of already touched on them a minute ago. What is going on there? Is it the same old story for Liverpool? I mean, they drew 1-1 with Burnley over the weekend. They seem to have a problem finishing off the smaller teams, especially at home. What do you think is going wrong there? I mean, the Liverpool fans love Klopp. He's a god there. But there isn't much of a development since Brendan Rodgers was in charge. And you can argue that actually he was doing a better job than Klopp. But they seem to be, they just seem to be floating. They're not really going anywhere. They're just kind of the same. You kind of know what's going to happen with Liverpool every season. I mean, what do you think is going on there?
It's true. I think you put the nail in the head, really. There's no player development at all. If you look at the players that he's had since he started, have they really developed? Not at all. He clearly hasn't improved the defence. He hasn't even really added to the defence. The goalkeeper situation's a joke. He's rotating keepers every week. And it's just whoever he's putting in goal, they're both as poor as each other. Defensively, if it's not Lovren, it's Klavan or whoever's at the back making the same mistakes. And I mean, like they said, going forward, absolutely brilliant, no problems. On the counter, if you play into their hands, they'll terrorise you. But even when they're at their best going forward, at the back, they'll still give you 3 or 4 chances in a game. Whereas, I mean, even when they beat Arsenal 4-0, the keeper was still messing about at times. And that has to come from the manager at some point. I know he's rallied the fans and got everyone, really feeling his way with how he interacts with the fans. But ultimately, I feel now he is slightly starting finally to be questioned about what is he really doing. He hasn't strengthened the squad, like I said, in the areas that needed it. And even the players he's got, he hasn't developed them into any sort of structure. It just doesn't feel like anyone's told to actually defend at the club. And yeah, if you want to win titles, you just can't play like that. I mean, not in the Premier League anyway. So for me, yeah, he's definitely you've got to ask questions of him now at this point.
Yeah. What do you think, Ash?
I looked at Klopp when he was in Germany. I thought, very, very good manager. I look at Klopp in England and think, yeah, he bought this high press, but is he actually a good man manager? Which I think Liverpool need at the minute. They need someone that's going to be very, very hands-on and just say, look, you need to do your job. If you're not going to do your job, then there's no point of you being in this team. I think they rely heavily on Mane. Coutinho's head's been turned now, so he probably won't put in the performances that he did last season. I think the striker situation's awful. I think people will talk about Firmino, but is he going to go and score you 20, 25 goals a season? Not a chance. Sturridge is always injured, so you can't really rely on him to go and score you 25 goals a season. And then you look at the defensive situation that they've got there. Would any of those players actually get into any of the other top four sides? I wouldn't take any of them, not a single one. And the keepers, like T said, shocking. I don't even know what they do in training because it's not goalkeeping training. I think they're just playing with the ball on the floor because it's not goalkeeping. I think
it's comical at times, really is. And the thing with my issue is you've seen players make the same mistakes week in, week out. And like Ash just said, what is going on in the training ground? Like, are they talking after these games? Is there any sort of analysis of the games? Because you're just seeing the same mistakes. They'll go ahead, then they'll concede. They've done the same against Sevilla, the same against Burnley. I mean, you can't carry on a season like that, surely.
But the thing is, by all accounts, from what I've been reading, because I've not long come in, it sounds like they've done the same thing against Leicester tonight. They've gone and lost 2-0 at Leicester. And I know they would have changed the side, and I know some of the kids would have been playing, but at the end of the day, these kids have been involved since last season. It's the same kids that he plays. He doesn't play anybody new. These kids have been in the squad since last season, so they know how he plays. They know what he expects. So, who's analysing these games and saying, yeah, we're still playing very well. It's gonna come. We've just got to hang tight and just wait until our luck comes along. That's what it just seems to be.
Do you think he could be another Arsene Wenger?
Probably.
And by that I mean he doesn't seem to be learning his lesson from the games in the season that have gone past already. He seems to continuously buy the same player in the same positions, and he's not addressing the problems of that are clearly there for us all to see. As you both pointed out, the goalkeeper situation, the centre back situation, he just keeps buying attacking midfield players, wingers. He's collecting them almost. But he's sort of who's the person that's deciding on who they buy? Who's their scout? What's their scout system? Why? Because it doesn't make any sense. Why you wouldn't try and deal with these issues that are clearly there for us all to see. And it kind of reminds me of Wenger, because Wenger's been there for 20 years and it's been the same thing for the last 15 years. He's been doing the same thing. And because the fans and the board love him so much, he's just got that, he's almost got complacent. He knows he's not going to get sacked. The only way he goes if he decides to leave. But they're just happy with what he's doing, and he's just continuously doing okay and well, apart from last season, we're getting into the top four, and just they're happy with that. Do you think that it's the same thing at Liverpool? I mean, I think Liverpool had a bit more. They were a bit more advanced than that. They had a bit more desire to win trophies and get back to the glory days. But it seems like they're so in love with Klopp, they're blind about what's going on, and just he can just do whatever he wants and buy whoever he wants, and they're going to back him 100%.
That's the thing. I'd like to see if they don't get in the top four this season, what their stance is going to be, because playing the way they're playing, I mean, they've scored 9 goals, conceded 9. It's just, like you said, it is reminiscent of Arsenal, where you're just plodding along game by game, making the same mistakes. The players aren't really, doesn't seem like they're getting told about anything or even bothered. And yeah, everyone's just wrapped up in the Klopp bubble that no one really cares. But I don't know. Yeah, what needs to happen for there to be a change? Because like you said, Paul, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what plan or direction the club really want to go in. I mean, they're a historic club, but like you said, I think there's no real intent in really wanting to push the club forward. I mean, they had all summer to get a centre back, and on the deadline day, they're signing Oxlade-Chamberlain. To me, it just doesn't add up what's going on there.
I don't know why they didn't just sell Coutinho and just go and buy like 3 or 4 players. One of them being that would have been, that would have been it.
Job done.
I do think that, like, we talk about Arsene Wenger. We know he pretty much runs the club. There's nobody telling him what he can and can't do. I think we've all heard the stories of Steve Bold trying to set the defense up, and Wenger saying, "No, I'm the manager. I'm gonna sort this team out. It's my job, not your job. You just sit down and just pretend that you're one of my coaches, pretty much." I think it's pretty much the same with Klopp. I think he's just got pretty much a load of his brethren just sitting on the touchline with him, just coaching. He's just chilling. They're all just chilling on the touchline. Nobody's saying anything. Just, boy, let's just mess Liverpool up a little bit more. We'll just rely on the history of the club and just see how far this goes.
It's poor, man. I mean, yeah, like the likes of like I was saying earlier, the players that have been there originally. I mean, the likes of Jordan Henderson, have they improved at all under Klopp? For me, they haven't at all. I mean, Emre Can shows glimpses when he wants to, but he's never really consistently put on 10 games of good quality form. Sturridge is just, I don't know where his career is even going. And then, I mean, when they're on song and teams are opening up to them, they look great, but that's not enough. It's not consistent enough in itself. But you can't have defenses like that and goalkeepers like that and survive in the Premier League. It's not Germany. Maybe he needs to wake up and smell the coffee, because the way they're playing is just ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed. Let's quickly touch on Spurs, because they seem to be continuing to have problems at Wembley. Surprisingly though, because they performed well against Dortmund last week, beating them at home 3-1. I thought that would lift the curse, they would start to push on again in the league, but then they draws 0-0 with Swansea. Still yet to win a game at home this season in the league. What do you think is happening there? Do you think it's a mental thing, or do you think it's I don't know. What do you think the issue is? Why Spurs can't seem to win games at home?
See, it's a weird one for me, because I mean, even against Swansea on Saturday, Kane's hit the bar a couple of times. I mean, I think it just needs to. I think they need to just get that first win, just so mentally they know they can win at Wembley. But it's just not come yet. Because like you said, it doesn't make sense. They dispatched Dortmund without really having to step out of first gear the game before, and then Saturday comes and it's the same old story. So I don't know. It is a weird one, but I still can't see it going on for too long, surely. But the only thing is, even I was thinking tonight, Barnsley have gone there, and it's a cup final every time you're going to play at Wembley now for any side. So their fans are going to be up for it. I mean, it's not even effectively a home match really for Tottenham. So that, I think the stadium that they've had to go into hasn't helped. But I can't see it going on for too long. because the players they've got, surely it's only a matter of time that it should all click together for me.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Ash?
It's probably got to be a mental thing. That's the only thing I can really put it down to, because it's not. It can't be a talent thing, because they've got enough talent in the squad to go and beat teams. Anybody on their day, they've showed that they've beaten Dortmund. I know it's at Wembley, but they've shown on their day they can beat any team in the Premiership. So does that come down to the manager, or does it come down to the players? I don't know. Spurs are probably too good to go too long without going and winning a few games at Wembley. But they're gonna have to nip it in the bud very quickly in the Premiership. It's all well and good doing it in the Champions League. Probably in the group stages, the shackles are off a little bit. There's not slightly a little less pressure on them, because nobody expects them to go and win the tournament, do they? In all honesty, nobody's expecting Tottenham to win the tournament. So the shackles are maybe off a little bit, where they're not expected to get out of their group because of the teams that are in there. So maybe that's why they went and tortured Dortmund the way they did. But come Premiership Day at Wembley, they seem to sort of freeze and let teams sort of just sit back, and teams are quite happy to go in there and get a 0-0 or just come out with a point or try and nick something. So they're going to have to find a rhythm in the Premiership at Wembley sooner rather than later, because it could become a sticky situation where they're starting to struggle for the top four if it comes too late. Because you've got to remember, like, come December, usually if you're not in that mix come December, you're going to have to go on a good run of games. And I only remember United teams doing that when they were struggling come December and going on a massive run when Fergie was there. There's not many teams that do it these days. I know Chelsea done it last season, but that was over a run of 13 games. United used to do it on a consistent basis. So I think Pochettino's going to have to sort of maybe get someone in and get their mind right, and or try and free their minds of whatever demons they've got in the Premiership at Wembley, and just try and sort that issue, because it will get bigger and bigger the longer it takes for them to get that first win.
Definitely, and yeah, with the media running on it as well, it seems like they're almost buying into that now, the players themselves, and then the fans and everyone just gets anxious, and then like you said, they just need that first win, and then they should be alright, surely.
Yeah, it's definitely a strange one, considering how strong they were at White Hart Lane last season. It was game last season. And the fact that they beat Dortmund as well at Wembley this season, so it's a strange one. I don't know if it's a mental one or what, but I think it is something to do with the fact that it is Wembley, especially in England, and for the lesser teams when they go to Wembley, it's a big occasion, So it's almost like a cup final, like you said. It's just that extra 10% effort they're putting in, which is making it a bit more difficult for Spurs to win these games. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you both. I think it's a matter of time until they get that win, and then once they do, I expect them to push on from there, because they're too good.
Completely.
But it's just a matter of time until they get that win. All right, so let's move on to goal of the weekend. Who did you guys pick?
I went for Aguero. I think the hat-trick goal against Watford, where he sort of dribbled past 4 or 5, then sort of curled it into the inside of the post. This season, I think he's actually stepped up. If anyone, we were speaking on them earlier, sort of embracing the Pep style, he seemed to be more of an all-round player now, including his assists as well. And his all-round game actually seems to have been developed. Not that it needed much developing, but yeah, that goal, it was a very individual goal, which is something I've never seen him really score like that as well, just dribbling past 3 or 4 players like that. Something that he seems to have added to his game. But yeah, for me, that was definitely the goal of the weekend.
How should you go for?
I went for Valencia.
Ooh.
I think I'm so used to him actually volleying all of these crosses into the box. I think that's what he was attempting to do. I think it was a volleyed cross, but he actually screams into the back of the net. He hits every cross that hard, so I think it was a hell of a strike. Especially from it was out of pretty much nothing. I think it was a terrible cross, and he's just absolutely rifled it into the. It wasn't even really in the corner, was it? It was just like it just flew in. It was just he hit it that clean that the keeper just had no chance. So it didn't really need to be in the corner. But I thought that was a hell of a strike.
Yeah, that definitely was a worldie.
Or a hell of a cross, I should say.
I went for a sermon of Bournemouth, the first goal in that game. That was, for me, just a nice team goal. Sums up what Bournemouth are trying to do. And I think if that had been Messi who had scored that, people would have been raving about that for weeks and weeks. It was a nice 1-2 with Jordan Eby. Back went to the box and then sent the defender for a hot dog and then placed it in the back corner. Nice move, nice goal. Like I said, if Messi would have done that, people would have been screaming about that for weeks. So for me, that was the goal of the weekend. Performance of the weekend. You guys go for?
Ooh, performance. I'm gonna go for Newcastle. Actually, I think after the transfer window they didn't have, and all the sort of rumours around Rafa, I think they've actually responded to him well. And that 2-1 victory against Stoke could have been 4 or 5. They were really at it on the day. And like we all know, when St James's is, or whatever you call it these days, Sports Direct, when the place is buzzing like that, you've got 50,000 behind them. It can be a fortress. So yeah, for me, I think I'm going to give it to them this week.
Okay, Ashley, have you gone for?
I thought there was a few like down the bottom half of the table. There's some good performances in there. Like T said, Newcastle's was a solid performance, and they've strung three together now, haven't they? So they're starting to find their mojo. But I'm gonna go with Swansea because that was a tough game for them to go to Wembley, like we said, and play a Spurs side that should have had their tails up against after their game against Dortmund. So to go there after the form that they've sort of had and get something out of the game, I think that's a very good result for them. That could help them along come the end of the season. The results like that. So I'm going to go with Swansea for that one.
Yeah, okay. I was going to go with the obvious, which I think is City. I think they performed really well. Like I said before, 6 goals away from home doesn't come very easily in the Premier League. But I've actually gone with Arsenal. I do believe that Conte got the wrong lineup for the game, but at the same time, it wasn't your typical Arsenal performance away from home. They did change slightly, and they were a bit more compact, and they could have well nicked the game. It was just a very unlike Arsenal performance to me, and it almost seemed like the penny dropped for Wenger, and he tried to do something a bit different rather than just go and play his game and get exposed by a stronger team. So I think Arsenal put in a much more experienced, measured performance against Chelsea, because I expected us to win that game quite comfortably. And in the end, Arsenal could have nicked it. They hit the post. They had a couple of chances. So I'm going to go for Arsenal for performance of the weekend. Donkey of the weekend is our last one we're going in. I'm actually going to start because I was angry about what happened. I'm going back to the Chelsea-Arsenal game. It had to be David Luiz. I am one of his biggest fans, if not his biggest fan. But I just cannot understand what he was doing. At that time in the game as well, it just didn't make any sense why he decided to do that. He had so much time just to pass the ball, but he decided to keep hold of it, lose it, and then dive in and get himself sent off. It was just ridiculous. It was almost like Conte said to him, get sent off, and then we can have an excuse to say that we didn't win because we had 10 men. But I just don't understand why he did that. I mean, he was so good last season. He just seems to undo his good stuff by moments of craziness, and that was one of them. But for me, he's the donkey of the weekend. Who have you guys gone for?
I'm going for Ronald Koeman. I think, like Ash touched on earlier, we all was praising the transfer window that Everton had. They spent their biggest amount in a window. It was looking like a positive season. Rooney was back. It looked like positive times. But, I mean, 2 goals scored in the Premier League, 10 conceded. And their last goal in the game was a Europa League qualifier in August. Considering he's brought in Rooney and Sandro, and as well as Klassen and Sigurdsson, it's just a mess. And it looks like the mess is not even over. I mean, fair enough, they didn't deserve to lose 4-0 maybe on Sunday, but the team looks like they don't know what's going on. The manager just seems to have lost his head. And yeah, I fear for them. I mean, I don't think they'll get relegated or anything like that, but they need to start pulling out a few. He needs to start pulling out a few results, because as we've seen with Frank de Boer, anybody can get it in terms of sackings in the Premier League. So yeah, I think if they don't turn it around quickly, he could be out of a job.
Yeah, I just don't know what's happening there. It's a strange one for me, but yeah, I can't understand what's going on there. What's going wrong?
Yeah.
Ash, who's your donkey of the weekend?
That could be any number of people, really, for me. I think Roy Hodgson's a donkey. I think Koeman's a donkey. I think Klopp's a donkey. But I was so angry after the Chelsea game at the weekend. I had to actually go to sleep. I was absolutely fuming. For the life of me, I think Conte's decision to change the team that's won 3 games on the bounce, it baffled me. It really did. I thought it played into Arsenal's hands. We already know Arsenal love playing against us. It seems to G them up. They always turn up when it's Chelsea. I don't understand why they don't do that against anybody else, but as soon as it's Chelsea, they think that they find some sort of courage to play. But like Paul said, for the life of me, I can't understand what David Luiz was doing. I seen the tackle like maybe 4 or 5 times. Why didn't he pass the ball? I just don't. I don't know what he saw when he was holding off Lacazette or whoever he was holding off at the time. Sanchez it was. He already got past him. Pass the ball. Do a 1-2. Do something. Just don't do that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. What are you doing? He had one of those games at the weekend where you cringed every time he touched the ball. Pretty much. You didn't know what he was gonna do. He just had one of those games where just before we sold him to PSG, you always thought there was something coming at some point. It could have been a worldie goal, it could have been an own goal, or it could have been a stupid tackle. And luckily for us, it was a stupid tackle. It's a shame that he's out for 3 games, but I just don't know what he was thinking. I really don't. It's beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, at least it gives Christensen a chance. He'll come in and play the next 3 games, but it's just, like I said, he just seems to undo all the good stuff that he does by just a moment of madness. It was just so unnecessary. It wasn't that type of game. It wasn't at all it wasn't a heated game. There weren't tackles flying all around the game. So I just don't understand why he did that. It it made no sense. He was going nowhere. He was in the middle of the pitch, and he just decides to do that and get himself sent off. And it's just like, well, what are you thinking? Why would you do something like that?
But he already had a yellow card on top of that. He already got a yellow card for kicking Koscielny in the face.
Yeah, the bicycle. Right?
So I just don't understand. Like even if he didn't have that yellow card, why would you put yourself in that situation after, especially what happened to Cahill on the first game of the season? We all know now you can't really tackle in football, no matter what people say. Tackles now are sort of drying out of the game, where you can't go in for them full-blooded tackles now because it's classed as dangerous play. But that was just idiotic. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a Chelsea supporter, and I love David Luiz, but that was just idiotic. It gives a reason. It gives everybody a reason. The media, other fans, to say he's calamitous, like to talk bad about him. It just he always gives them that reason to do it.
Yeah, it was definitely, like I said, a moment of madness. But yeah, this is why we have our Donkey of the Weekend award.
Yeah, it's definitely living up to its name every week so far.
Yeah, alright, guys. This has been another edition of Free Keys of the podcast. Thank you, guys, and we'll be back next week.
Peace.
Peace out.